Am I the a-hole stories? Update, am I the a-hole for telling my mother that my husband is not her replacement son? Original post, my parents have 2 kids, me, 26 female, and my brother Dan, 34 male. Dan had a rough time growing up and frankly, my parents failed him. As a teenager, he struggled with severe addiction and mental illness, and they did almost nothing to help him. By the time he was done with college, he had completely cut off my parents. To this day, Dan and my parents are still estranged. I, on the other hand, still speak to my brother regularly. My parents, especially my mom, take every chance they can get to mourn the loss of their son, and act as though my brother wronged them by leaving. Dan has told me he wouldn't mind reconnecting with them, but only if they reach out and apologize first. I've encouraged my parents to do this, but they insist that he betrayed them. I got married early last year to my husband Jeff. We have a happy marriage and he is adored by all my friends and family, but I feel like my parents have been crossing some boundaries. For example, whenever we've gone to visit them, they insist that he sleep in Dan's room, saying that their son, my husband, has come home and should sleep in his rightful bedroom. Before the pandemic, my dad would take Jeff out to sporting events, and introduce him as his only son. Most of the pictures of my brother in my childhood home, have been replaced by pictures of my parents with Jeff. The other day, my mom called to invite me and Jeff over for the holidays. I told her I wasn't comfortable traveling during a COVID spike. She was irritated but dropped it. Then, she called Jeff and begged him to visit without me, because apparently, it's cruel for a mother to be without her child on Christmas. Jeff politely told her he wasn't going to visit without me. She's been emotionally blackmailing him ever since, sending him pictures of stockings with his, my mom's, and my dad's names on them and saying, "But we already promised so-and-so that our son will be in town." This felt ridiculous and unsettling, so I called her up yesterday and explained to her that she's violating our boundaries. Jeff is not her replacement son, and no matter how much she pretends, she does have an actual son. She doesn't. It is her responsibility to make up for the damage she did to that relationship before it's too late. She started crying and called me cruel for mentioning Dan, and said I have no idea what it's like to be a mother, and it's disgusting that I'm trying to deprive her of a son, when she has already lost one by keeping Jeff away from her. My father agrees with my mother, and Jeff agrees with me, though he doesn't like to rock the boat and thinks I should apologize anyway. I thought I did the right thing, but now I'm really not sure if I went too far. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole, and your parents sound hella abusive emotionally. If you plan on having kids, set your boundaries well before you start the journey. Oh, for sure, I do not want my children to have the same childhood I had. My parents have always been a bit off, but until now I've just kept quiet and put up with it. Something has to change clearly. I read this wearing a Pikachu face. For real. Not the a-hole. So not the a-hole. Your parents sound mentally unbalanced. This is a seriously unhealthy behavior and it will have a negative impact on your marriage. Because to them, you got married, your husband is better than their son, they don't have to be responsible for the emotional upkeep like they did with their teenage son, so they are replacing their son with your husband, so they can feel good about their son while still maintaining the role of victim where their real son is concerned. That is convoluted beyond all reason, and you need to make some very firm, very lasting boundaries with them. How are they going to act if you and your husband ever have a baby, especially a boy? When they overstep your parenting boundaries, it will be to talk about that baby as their baby, how they raised him, etc. I'm definitely extrapolating here, but it isn't exactly a reach to think they will not only continue this behavior but escalate it. Thank God, the way my parents were talking to me, I thought I was crazy for finding their behavior disturbing. I think you're so right about potential kids. I know that even now I'm not really comfortable being around my parents, so there's no way they're seeing me without defined boundaries, much less any children I may have. Not the a-hole. Your parents have a few screws loose and need therapy. It's time for Jeff to set some boundaries, like them telling everyone he is their son. He is not their son, Jeff is a son-in-law. That's a good point. Jeff and I are very much on the same page about boundaries, but my parents also need to know that he agrees with me. I could easily imagine them claiming I'm holding my husband captive against his will or something. Edit. Thank you all for the support and advice. I appreciate it so much. I haven't been able to sleep, so I've been reading every comment. I don't know if I have the emotional energy to post in just normal yet, but I'm reading a lot of what's posted there and already feel less alone. My tentative plan is to arrange for me and Jeff to get individual therapy and maybe couples therapy later on. We are going no contact with my parents for a while. I'm also planning to invite Dan to stay with us over the holidays. I have a lot to make up for, and I want to spend as much time as I can with him and let him know he's loved. Also, in response to the people pointing out the gross incestuous implications behind this, with the way my parents talk about me and my husband, most people who didn't know me growing up, assume that I'm their daughter-in-law and Jeff is their son. until one of us corrects them. And now for the update. I posted several weeks ago about a situation in which I felt that my parents were trying to replace my brother, Dan, with my husband, Jeff. I wanted to first express my gratitude for everyone who commented and messaged me. I was raised in an unhealthy environment, and as such, I was very out of touch with what normal family dynamics and boundaries look like. The support, the resource recommendations, and the respectful criticisms have all been invaluable to me as I've begun to confront what I've avoided for a long time. People have messaged me asking for an update. Well, I'm happy to share good news. My husband and I went no contact with my parents as many of you suggested. We have also both started going to therapy. We have only had 3 sessions each, but I can definitely say it has been a total relief to process things that I have been bottling up my entire life. I already feel like I can understand myself and the cluster F I grew up in significantly better. Kinda kicking myself for not trying it sooner. Jeff has felt the same way with his sessions from what he's told me. Under professional advisement, we are holding off on couples therapy until we do a few more individual sessions, but we hope to start in the near future. Now for the main good news, my brother Dan is spending the holidays with us. After taking health precautions, he drove up last week and is staying with us past New Year's. Having Dan around has been incredibly special for me and Jeff. Dan and I have been making up for so much lost time, and I've never seen him smile so much, and it warms my heart. I did tell him about the situation with our parents and Jeff before he came. It was hard to hear, but Dan has a really strong support system and seems to be processing it in a healthy way. He's coming up on 7 years sober now. I was finally able to apologize to him for not stepping up as a better sister earlier in his life, and enabling our parents' mistreatment. He said he doesn't blame me, but I still want to show him through my actions, that I will always be there. My parents have been pretty much losing their minds this entire time, especially when they found out Dan is with us. As a people pleaser, I'm proud of myself for being firm in maintaining my boundaries. Right now, my heart is filled with more love and joy than it has been in a long time. I know life won't always be like this, but my brother is safe and healthy and happy and knows he is loved, and that is everything to me. I am sincerely appreciating what I have. Anyway, happy holidays everyone. Thank you again for your help. Much love to all of you. Now for some comments. Yay! Merry Christmas. Enjoy the peace of going no contact with toxic family, and the joy of being with people you love and who love you. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you too. Holy crap. I've just looked at your other post and yeah, definitely not the a-hole. Your parents sound creepy as hell. Sorry, but that's not normal. Anyway, good for you guys for finally turning things around. Stand your ground with this, and Merry Christmas to you, your husband, and your bro. I don't have much to tell. But 7 years sober, that an achievement itself. Give him a hug from an internet stranger. Love to your family and Merry Christmas. It is a huge accomplishment. I will definitely pass your hug on, it'll mean a lot to him. Merry Christmas. This is a great update. Glad to know that you are getting a chance to heal. Thanks, I feel like I've unlocked a new level of life, haha. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-wife I don't want her to come to Christmas dinner? Basically, earlier on this year, she, 37 female, came out as a lesbian to me, 37 male, and we divorced after being together 11 years. It really sucked, and even though we've remained sort of friends because we share our dog together who's 10, I do find it hard. Because she's been in my life for so long, she's remained on good terms with my family, especially my folks who see her as a daughter-in-law still. If we were still together, we'd have spent Christmas together with my parents, but as we're not, I was just planning to spend it with them on my own. I was talking to her a couple of days ago and mentioned that I was looking forward to my mom's Christmas dinner, and she said she was too. She assumed she's still coming, especially as her family have effectively disowned her for being gay. She doesn't really have anywhere else to go. My mom told her when we split up, she's still welcome there anytime, especially Christmas. I told her I don't want her to come, it's a bit too weird to me to spend Christmas with her, after all that's gone down, and would rather just have it as family only. She got really upset about it, and said she didn't have anywhere else to go, and otherwise, it would just be her and the dog. We agreed he'd be with her this Christmas and alternate it. I said no still, and she started crying and I hung up. Obviously, I don't want to upset anyone, so think I could be an a-hole for that? I mean, she does have a girlfriend, I don't see why they can't spend time together. I told my mom today and she was really angry. She said that I didn't have the right to disinvite anyone and shouldn't be so mean at Christmas. I told her she's my ex, if I don't want to see anyone then I shouldn't have to. She said she is in two minds whether to just invite her anyway, and if I don't like it, then I cannot come myself. I don't know Reddit. I don't think I'm an a-hole for not wanting to see her, but maybe I could have handled it better? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Ex-wife doesn't get to share your family still. Make it very clear to your parents. They are welcome to invite her, but if you show up and she's there, you're leaving and not doing anything with them over the holidays. This. Not the a-hole. She strung along and lied to OP for 11 years, effectively stealing those 11 years from him and his perfect partner and family. And after that, she still has the audacity to appear in the family events. Despite having a girlfriend now? I am sorry that OP does not get support from his parents. Not the a-hole. As if you need that reminder on Christmas. If your mom wants to see her, she can meet her another day. Super weird of your ex to assume she can still come, considering she already has a new partner. Maybe she wants to bring her to WTF. She did not assume, the mom invited her. Dude, not the a-hole, and it's time for you to consider whether you've only been divorced by your wife. That is so harsh of your family and so thoughtless of your wife. I feel for you. OP's family has essentially chosen his ex over him. Mom made it clear she was inviting ex no matter what, and that if he didn't like it, he could not come. It's crazy how everyone is trying to act like things are peachy and normal at the expense of OP. It's like no one is really considering his feelings at all. His world has recently been twisted around and he's seemingly expected to act like things are perfectly fine. Edit. So I've made a decision and rang my mom about it. I'm not going. She's told me she's re-invited my ex anyway, so I've said to avoid being awkward, I won't go myself and she can go. My mom practically begged me to reconsider, but I said it's my decision. I've also told my ex that if she's going there, I'm having the dog this Christmas so I'm not on my own Christmas day. She also tried to get me to reconsider, but I'm ignoring it now. Further edit. I asked her when I just spoke to her about spending it with her girlfriend. Apparently, she's currently self-isolating, so she can't see her. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for naming my newborn son after my deceased son? For purposes of this, let's just say the name is Eric. My ex-wife, 46, and I, 49, were college sweethearts. We have 2 daughters 19 and 17. We then tried on and off throughout our 30s to have more kids, but my wife kept failing to get pregnant and finally suffered a miscarriage at 39. When we had come to terms with the fact that my younger daughter would be our last kid, my ex-wife got pregnant and at 44 had our son. We named him Eric after a close college friend, and I was happiest I think I've ever been up to that point. I told everybody about our miracle baby, took a million pictures, and even planned to go back into the long hours of investment banking from the startup I was working at, so I could make more money for his future. However, 4 months later, our son died of sudden infant death syndrome. I was devastated, but my ex-wife was even worse. She turned into a zombie, got on heavy psychiatric medication, and refused to show me any sort of physical affection. She screamed at me whenever I came home from doing something normal, and kept feeling the need to remind me that I had daughters too. I couldn't take being at home with her negativity, so I threw myself into networking, got back into investment banking, and started working long hours. At work, I met an analyst who also just started there. When I realized my ex-wife and I were just strangers living in the same house, I decided to be brave and tell her that this wasn't going to work anymore and filed for divorce. The analyst and I started dating, and we fell in love quickly and got married. I have 50-50 custody, and even though both my daughters are extremely cold to my new wife, she always tries her best with them and tries to give them advice as a non-judgmental relative, and I appreciate that. After trying for under a month, she got pregnant. I don't know what got into both of us, but we were extremely jittery about finding out the gender. However, eventually 7 months in, we gave in and found out we were having a boy, but her parents wanted it to be a surprise so we kept it from everyone. Last week, our son was born. When my wife found out the gender earlier, she said she would be honored to call him Eric. I shrugged at the time, but I knew there would be no better name. However, the first time my younger daughter saw the baby, she jolted up when I told him this was Eric, and she screamed, "How could you?" and walked out. My ex-wife rarely calls, but I woke up and saw 5 missed calls from her. When I call back, she starts screaming that Eric was our name, and it had significance because we decided Eric would be our first choice boy name, because it was the name of a friend we made in college. My older daughter also heard and said she could not deal with this, and has refused to come see me and quite vehemently expressed her dislike for my wife for being okay with it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. You're an a-hole to your ex-wife, your daughters, and both your sons. You named your son after his deceased half-brother. How do you think he will feel when he finds that out? He is basically Eric 2.0. How do you think your daughters will feel, having to hear and say his name all the time? Constantly reminding them of their dead brother? Jesus, man. Just Jesus. Edit. Got once people start to explain the timeline, this got so much worse and you became so much more the a-hole. Add in that he married a woman half his age. 6 months after his first son's death, and started trying for the new baby within the next month with his 24-year-old mistress, who would have been 23 at the time, and also divorce isn't likely finalized that fast, if you see the math with the ages and timing that he gives. You're the a-hole. You can't erase one sibling from their life by naming the other Eric. I know it feels good to think you have a second chance. But you are hurting your daughters, your ex-wife, and acting selfishly. The way you describe your wife being a zombie, seems almost like you blame her for being depressed about losing a child. And you seem excited your younger wife can get pregnant so soon and it was a boy. It's nice that you are excited, but you owe your children an apology and maybe ask them for help renaming the baby. How could you say such a thing? Didn't you read the bit where he was so brave and abandoned his sick wife and 2 daughters, to flee to the bed of his young lover and start replacing his old family with a new better one? You're the a-hole. I'm about to nominate this for biggest a-hole of the year. Do you not realize how messed up this is? You name your kids after parents/grandparents/aunts and uncles, not their deceased sibling. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.